Tansei, my name is Agnes Woodward. I'm Nehiyaw from Treaty 4 Territory and a member of Kwakatus First Nations. However, I currently live in North Dakota on MHA Nation. I am the project director for MMIP, a storytelling initiative with Seeding Sovereignty. I'm extremely honored to have this opportunity to amplify the voices of MMIP families. Before we start, I want to give a little background about this project, why it's important to me. Um, I have an aunt who is one of the thousands on Canada's list of MMIW G2S, and advocating for family members of this movement has really become important to me because I've seen how much harm can happen when families are not treated with respect and when they're not included in conversations about their loved ones. The matriarchs in my family have taught me that MMIP family members are the experts, and that doesn't mean expert by years of study and research or years of any type of profession. It means that they're experts by their lived experience. And while statistics and data are super important in the prevention of MMIP, so is healing. And sometimes when we're offered space, visibility, and support, we find solace in not feeling alone. Our stories hold power, and I believe it's important to humanize these difficult topics by sharing those unique experiences. So before we begin today, I just want to give a gentle content warning. It's difficult to talk about MMIP without talking about some of the violence, and discussions about violence can bring up past trauma. So please proceed with caution. Some of this conversation may be triggering to viewers. And with that, I would like to bring on my guest today, Alysse. Hi, Alysse. How are
Hi.
you?
Hi.
Everything sound good?
Yes, everything sounds way better.
Awesome. So can you introduce yourself?
Yes. I'm Alysse Arce. I'm a MMIW, MMIP, MMIWG2S advocate. I work for Awakening Women's Healing Institution, and I also am part of the MMIW task force in Wisconsin for the Family Impact Committee. Um, I guess I can start. I just started doing this work back in 2019. This is when they reopened my mother's case. My mother's case was MMIW. Um, she was missing back in 1986, which I was only 7 weeks old at the time. So, all through my life, I guess I was very sheltered, very um, protected, I guess you would say, by my family just because of what happened. So I just want to kind of give you the experience that I have. I only can speak on that,
Mhm.
but but I'll go off first telling my mom's story. So October 15th, 1986, she went to a party, and literally this party was, if you wanted to say block terms, it was probably a block away from her home.
Mhm.
Um, she left the party and she started walking down the road. From what the police reports say, from what I know, is that two individuals picked her up. Um, every, um, Everybody at the party, I guess, kind of knows who she jumped in the car with, but at that time, from what I heard from the FBI and stuff, is that she got dropped off at another location, which was probably about 10 miles away from where she lived. And so when I first heard this information, in my mind, I was thinking like it was like a road, you know what I mean? Reservations kind of have a lot of dirt roads and stuff, but I thought she was like on the road because they said Old South Branch Road. So I was like, oh. But here to come to find out, she was like way in the woods. Literally, there's a road that goes in between two parts on a reservation. It's probably about 10 miles long, and it's like all wooded area, but it's a dirt road. People use these roads for logging, for hunting, for fishing. And then it just connects those two locations together, kind of, if you wanted to take a shortcut instead of taking a different route. So when I found out where she was last seen, it was kind of weird to me why she would be way out there. It was literally probably 2 miles away from the road where I thought she was, in the woods. I guess two loggers seen her walking. I'm not really sure what time of day it was, or in the morning. I think it was early morning hours or whatever. But actually, and then so that was the last time she was seen. That was her last known appearance, I guess. But they don't know anything after that. And I just learned that information like literally probably about 3 months ago, and it was kind of astonishing to me because it was the first. I mean, I've gotten brought back where they found my mom, but I really didn't remember. I think my grandpa took me back there when I was 14 at the time. But at this age, I know where it is now. But so they I guess they reported. I don't really know how many days it took, if they reported her missing right away. That's kind of information that I'm trying to figure out right now. I've been trying to contact the FBI for more information, but because her case is still open, it's hard to do that, to get information. But anyways, she was actually supposed to stand up in a wedding the following day. She never showed. She never came home where I was. And actually, I was a premature baby. My parents had to learn how to do CPR, so did my grandparents, before I came home. Just because I was really small. I think I was like 4 pounds and 4 pounds 13 ounces. They said my dad said he could fit me in his hand like this, and they didn't make preemie clothes back then, and they put Cabbage Patch clothes on me.
That's awesome. I need pictures. I love that.
So I think I got brought home in an incubator anyways, and then but yeah, so because of the state that I was in, I guess, and she didn't show up for the wedding party, she didn't come home, it was very unlike her. From when I talked to my grandparents, they kind of knew something was wrong. They kind of knew something was not right. My dad was not there at the time. He was somewhere else. I don't know. So it kind of went on like that for a while. Nobody knew any information. I mean, everything was people that did interviews and stuff, and then you know how that goes, like hearsay, or somebody says this and somebody says another thing. Probably didn't get no leadway until about 6 months later, April 9th, 1987. A beaver trapper was out and found her remains. From what I know is that he just kind of found some pieces of clothing and then found some part of remains, and then he called the game warden and the police and stuff, and they all came out, and nobody really knew what was going on. I guess from what I know, that the game warden at the time couldn't even like really tell his wife anything that was happening, because nobody wanted to know that where the area was or what they found in until they knew exactly for sure what happened, or who it was. Because I mean, we have other missing people up here. I mean, Lisa Minham has been missing since 1980, so still not been found. But so from there, they I think they went by dental records, I think, and they found out it was my mom. And then from what I know is that it was literally only half of her remains. And when the FBI told us that they couldn't tell if it was from a person or from an animal that did anything to her remains, or like why it was only half
Right.
of it. So, um, and then it just went from there. I mean, um, I guess like I honestly can't even tell you the memory of when somebody even told me. I can't even
Mhm.
tell you who told me. I just remember just growing up and knowing kind of what happened, that my mom was gone and she was murdered. And I
Mhm.
could probably go all the way back to like when I was in kindergarten of not remembering who told me. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
Of knowing the information.
Mhm.
So um, I lived with my dad all the way until I was in third grade, and um, I mean, my dad. I love my dad. My dad still lives with me now, but, but he he moved around a lot, and it wasn't a very good space for me. Him and my grandma kind of had a conversation. My This is my mom's mom had a conversation and said that it would probably be best for me to stay with her. Um, I remember that conversation, and I remember my grandma like telling me, and I remember just crying like. I want to be by my dad. Why isn't my dad like? And she's just like, you can go by your dad whenever you want. I will never, um, not let you see your dad.
Mhm.
She's like, it's just he moves around too much, and you're switching schools all the time. So, which was, um, which was a godsend. I mean, I love my grandparents. Both my grandparents are thankfully still alive to this day, and I love them so much. I literally lived like 2 miles down the road from where I live now. So,
Mhm.
um, but they raised me, and that's what I'm saying is like, when you say you hear rumors and you hear all this stuff, like they heard that their whole lives. They've heard who might have been involved, what happened, and then but when it comes to it, it's always hearsay. It's always like we can't pin that on him because it's only hearsay, or it's because somebody is either intoxicated and they can't take the statement, or um, when they try to get the interview again when they're sober, they don't want to say it at it again.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like I don't know. So and then my mom is the fourth child. She has three older sisters and an older brother, but the older brother died probably about 3 years before she did in a car
Mhm.
accident. And then she had two younger sisters. One that was adopted from a different family member, like so she would still be my cousin, but I still she's my auntie. So,
Okay. Mhm.
but um, I mean, and then you got to hear the stories and just being out, and then you kind of see whatever, see people around, and my grandpa and my grandma always said like, hey, just don't go by these certain people, don't ever be around these people just because. And I just never, I guess I just never I never questioned it. Um,
Mhm.
from what they say goes, I guess. They're
Yeah,
very,
I
yeah.
feel like that's
You
a
know how
really
grandparents are. But
definitely protective. That's super important. I feel like that's so important because there's that saying that I know so many communities, to grow up in a community that somebody knows something. People are actively choosing to not give important information, you know, and how
yeah,
hurtful that is, how heartbreaking that is to families. Um, and yeah, there's definitely that, statement that a lot of communities and MMIP family members say is somebody knows something because it's the truth.
yeah.
Um, not
That
to
is,
center my own story, but with my family, my aunt was murdered in 1982. And if you think about how long that is, just to understand like what your family's been through, is that's a long time that they didn't really talk about what happened because it was so painful. And
exactly.
until the movement really picked up until there was a lot of families, and this might be how it was for your family, to feel empowered to step forward and not feel alone, but also use your voice so that it doesn't happen to anybody else, and so that the
Yeah.
secrets don't continue, the silence doesn't continue. And I can imagine that, that's like 30 years of a grief and a pain and things that your family has had to carry, things that you've had to learn, understand, and like process, I can imagine how difficult, that has been. And grief has no expiration date,
Mm-hmm.
and I know that your life was greatly impacted by the loss of your mother. Um, but over the years, like how have you gotten to know your mother? Like, are there stories that, your loved ones share? What are your favorite things about her?
So, I mean, like when I was growing up, I can kind of tell like it was a very touchy subject with my family, a little bit. But if I asked questions, they always answered me. But my grandma, she always tried to buy me these hats all the time, and she's just like, you know what? She's like, your mom was such a hat person. Like I could buy her any kind of hat, and she would just wear it, and she would flaunt it around. She's like, and you know what? Your mom just had her own style. She didn't have a style like anybody else. And she's like, and your mom was the only one that I could go shopping with, and I could pick her outfit, and she'd be like, "Yeah," and all you guys, everybody else was always like, like,
No, grandma, not that.
so, and then, I mean, she danced for a long time. She danced when she was little, and my grandpa was just said, he goes, "Man, you should have just seen your mom. She just looked so natural. Like everything was just, she was really light on her feet, and she'd always stop at the right time all the time, and just the look on her face." He goes, like still to this day, my grandpa has not been to a powwow since she's been gone because it's too hard for him to
Oh
even
man.
look down there. Because
Yeah.
he's like, that's all I see is your mom down there. So,
Yeah.
but then I mean, I've talked to her best friends. Actually, two of her best friends, and I worked at the casino. One of them was my boss, and and then like me and her daughter were really good friends when we were younger, and she used to take us to powwow. I used to jump in with them and go to powwows all over the place and stuff. So that was nice, but they would talk about her, and they would just like, man, she lit up the room when she walked in. Everybody wanted to be around her. She was very silly. I mean, I'm silly sometimes. I try not to, but they're just like your laugh. Like my laugh is very contagious, I guess. But that's what they said. They're like, man, she goes, you don't know how much you resemble your mom. And you know what? I never really seen it until I was probably like 22. I always thought I looked like
Yeah.
my dad all the time. One time, I seen one of her best friends from all through years. They lived across the street from each other in Neopit, and she's like, "Hey," she goes, "Wow." I just seen her at the store, and she's just like, "I can't believe you're here." She goes, "Because I've been carrying this picture around with me, and it's of me and your mom, and I wanted to give it to you." And it was the first time that I like literally seen myself. It was so crazy to me. I couldn't even believe how much I resembled her when I was younger. I mean, like I just like I don't know when she grew older if we would probably look the same, but it was pretty crazy then, because
Yeah.
I think in the picture she was probably about 17, and at the time I was like 19, I think. So, but even like I got this tattoo of her right here. Um and this is her princess photo. Um
Oh.
it says there was this poem that they made. And I just took a couple words out of it. It says, "All of my life is a dance with the earth and the sky. My song insists I will never die."
Oh, that's
So
beautiful.
when I brought this picture in to get the tattoo, the woman was like, "Why would you want a picture of yourself on your arm?" And I was like, And I was like, "That's my mom." And she was like, "Oh." She goes, "Really?" And I was like, "Yeah, look at the banner. It says 1984 on it." I was like, "I'm not that old."
That must have made you feel good, though. It's like a compliment, you know, you feel connected even through those photos.
Yeah. And it's nice to hear really like stories. I know that so our high school is Menominee Eagles, but because Eagle is so sacred, we don't do the mascot as the eagle. You know what I mean? So we have a raccoon. So from what I heard is my mom would go in that raccoon mascot, and she's like, they were like, dude, like she would be doing cartwheels out there. She was like getting the whole crowd all wild.
That's awesome.
I know. So I mean, just to hear stuff, and then I remember one time too with one of her friends at a powwow. They were head dancers together, I guess, and um, she convinced him to have her go into his outfit, and nobody knew it, and she went up in his outfit and was dancing.
Not even a chance?
Yeah.
Volunteered. Maybe that's where the switch cat
Yeah.
came from. Aw, he sounds
But
awesome.
but
Good
yeah,
time,
just to
good
hear
time.
those stories are really nice, and there's a lot of those stories, you know what I mean? It's just they're everywhere, and that's what everybody hears about her. And um, still to this day, I hear new stories and stories that I've never heard before. Um, I'm thankful that my grandpa has like a memory like an elephant. He literally does. Like, um,
Mhm.
and he shares a lot with me with when she was younger. But he's like, she was the only one that really wanted to explore because she learned our native language. I mean, she could actually sit and have a conversation with somebody in Menominee language. And um, I remember somebody telling me, they're like, "Man, you know what? I remember seeing your mom when I was younger, and I remember her talking to an elder, and she was just speaking fluently in Menominee." And then I was just like, she's like, "I admired that so much. Like, I
Mm,
really, that's how I wanted." That's she's like, "How awesome is that to carry on a conversation with an elder like that?"
yeah,
Um, so, and then she was in singing and drumming class. I mean, and um, that's what I'm saying. She like knows our reservation. I mean, as much as my grandpa does, um, because she was always everywhere,
mhm,
and she knew everybody. She graduated high school in 1986,
mhm.
and then she got Menominee Princess in 1984. And that was her one main dream, was to become Menominee Princess one day.
Look at
My cousin Leah was born after the powwow, and her middle name is Ray because of that. So she was born
that.
that year. But
I think one powwow out there actually, Woodland Bowl.
yeah, it's
So beautiful.
beautiful.
Yeah, I always think about how beautiful that is. Like, and being cooped up at home, I always imagine like someplace like that because I love trees. You know, North
Hmm.
Dakota, there's not very many trees here, but going to Wisconsin, you get your fill. It's just so. It reminds me of the mountains in a lot of way. All the moss and the springs and yeah, I love it out there. Beautiful man.
Man, I know they because the tree. I mean, because we got those big pine trees down there now, and then um they were all dying, but I was like, man, what are they gonna do to get those trees back? Like they can't replant a big, huge pine tree up
Yeah.
there. But you know what they did is that they cut off some of it, and then they built sculptures out of them of our five clans. It looks
Oh,
really,
wow.
really pretty. Yeah, they just did that like over the pandemic. So I think they finished it last or like before the snow came this year. I
Yeah.
haven't been down there to see the finishing part of it, but it looked pretty nice from what I've seen so far.
Next time I visit that area, we'll definitely have to check it out.
Yes.
So your mom was like 18, huh?
Well, she was just turned
19?
19. Her
19?
birthday is September 21st. Yeah.
Yeah, so young. I saw that the FBI is offering a reward of 15,000 for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the person or persons responsible for the death of your mother. Does your family receive updates often? Like, do you have a good relationship with them, or do you have to
Man, I've actually just recently been trying to, because I've been trying to do my own interviews just for my own sake and stuff. But I've been trying to get an update, and I've left messages and I haven't been getting no callbacks. I mean, I have a good connection with the tribal police, but I think that was my next step is like, can you call them with me? Because like I just really need to, I really see if there's an update, because I've heard some stuff that I think some statements were made recently, and we haven't heard anything about them at all. And that was kind of like probably about 2 or 3 months ago.
Oh,
So,
wow. Yeah,
yeah.
that is
So like,
wild.
yeah, and that's what I'm saying is like, ever since I've been kind of coming out and saying a lot more stuff, a lot of people have been inboxing me with details and like of what they heard and stuff. And um, I mean, it's not that I don't want to shun them away or anything, but at the same time, it's kind of hard. I mean, it gets me upset. It's upsetting sometimes, and I kind of just gotta like, I'm like, man, but I don't want to close that door on anybody. You know what I mean? And if
Yeah.
they're uncomfortable talking to the police or anything like that, like I just, yeah, I don't want to close that door of
Um,
any kind of updates or anything, or if they have any information. But like for her birthday this year, I held a memorial down there, but it wasn't really for her. It was mostly just to show more awareness for all of our families that are out there. And I made that a statement. I was like, this is not for my mom. I mean, like it is for my mom, but I mean it's for all families. I said I was like, it's just to show awareness so people get more or know more about it.
right.
So we did that for 2 hours downtown, but like even on her birthday, I literally made like 100, probably about 150 posters with her FBI um, poster,
Fire.
and then yeah, with that flyer, and I put on there somebody knows something. It's been
Mhm.
35 years now, um, and then like circled the number on the bottom for the tip line, like. Because our tribe too put up $5,000 for a reward also. So the reward is 20,000 altogether. If somebody came forward with some information that led to
Okay.
this. Um, but yeah, I mean, like you were
Well, I'm
saying,
glad
like
that they.
it's hard. I can't believe that it's been that long. And when you think about it, and I kind of wish that I had been or that I was doing this the whole time, but at the same time, like literally when they decided to reopen my mom's case in 2019, it was really hard for my family because later, I remember a couple times, and then my grandma like totally shut down. She's
Mhm.
shut down probably for the last 15 years now, and she's just like, I don't want to hear nothing until it's like that it's good and it's
Right.
all like I want you to come and tell me that these people are going to court and stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so my grandpa was the one, she's like, I don't know, talk to dad. That's what she was saying. Um she's like, I can't hear it anymore. And then as much as she is proud of me, she's still like she's come to some of my events, but not all of them. And that's the same with my aunties too. Um, they're proud of all the work that I'm doing, but at the same time, it's so hard for them to even talk about it or see it. And my auntie just had a conversation with me the other day because I just kind of got a job offer, and she's just like, "Well, are you taking care of yourself?" She's like, I just want you to know that, at least, that you can say no and that you can step back and you can take a step back and take a breather. Sometimes you don't have to say yes to everything. And I said, yeah, I know. And I kind of have a system for that. I have our cousin Andy, and she does public speaking. So if I ever can't do anything or if I don't feel up to it, I just kind of message her, be like, hey, can you take this? Like, so, um,
Mhm.
because it is really hard work. It's I kind of I my release is hiking. I go hiking a lot, so that's what I do for my self care mostly. Um, and
Yeah,
then
important to have, ways to take care of yourself. And as important as the work is, like one thing that I've seen with so many, I don't even know what to like helpers or caretakers of community and families and in that way, like when you understand a situation and how it impacts you as an individual, how it impacts your family, and then when you find out like how many are out there that are hurting just the same, you want to do something. When you see another missing person's photo flyer, like every day on Facebook, pretty much, you
yeah,
feel the impact of all of that, and you can't help but feel like you have to do everything you can. You have to utilize, all your resources and connections. Like you have to help put an end to this. Um, and that constant drive that comes from a good place can wear you out.
yep,
I think that's really important that you said that you have your outlet and your ways of managing everything that you take on, because it's not it comes from a very deep place, and it comes from your experience, with your family. And that's something that I've heard discussed quite often, is that there will be times when family members don't want anything to do with an event, don't want to speak about it, like, and they don't want to take part. And that's totally understandable, and
mhm,
that's okay. They don't have to. Nobody has to take part in anything if they don't want to. If they don't want to share a photo, if they don't want to tell their story, that's completely, their choice. And I think it's really important to respect that with families, because again, like we said, it's about violence, it's about trauma, it's about bringing up issues that some people are not ready to talk about. And like I said, with my family, they literally
mhm,
did not speak about it for like 30 years because it was so hard, and you have to make a decision, like, we're going to do this because we don't want it to happen to anybody else.
yeah. And then, I mean, yeah, because like this year was like probably the first year that I was kind of introduced to talking circles and stuff like that, and where it was a safe place to talk and stuff. And I remember like kind of whatever, but I was like really nervous to even say anything. I probably wasn't even going to say anything, honestly. I was just there to kind of listen and to see
Mhm.
what it was about. And somebody kind of mentioned something about MMIW and stuff like that. And I was like, and I was kind of astonished and I was like, okay, well. And then it kind of gave me more confidence to talk about it. I was like, well, they're saying something. Maybe I should say something too. And it kind of made me feel, and that's why I can see where somebody listening to my story, it could encourage somebody else to say theirs. And that's,
Absolutely.
yeah. And
Thank
there
you
is a lot of
for saying
people
that.
that are scared. Yeah. Because there is a lot of people that, I mean, that are just don't want to talk about it. And it is really hard. And I'm not going to say like my mom is not the only person in our family. I had a brother. Well, I call him my brother because him and lived with my grandma and grandpa at the same time I did. He was younger than I was, but he went out to Flanders School, and his dad lived in Utah on a reservation out there. And after he graduated, he moved out there for like 3 years. And I guess he would come home like every now and then and come to a come home for summertime for a couple months or whatever, and then he would go back. But I remember him messaging me and saying like, I want to come back home, and I was like, well, let's get that going. Like we can all get that. We can pull something together and get you home. And um, yeah, one morning I was at my sister's house. I was staying with my sister, and um, it was like 7 in the morning, and my auntie come walking in, and like you can just hear in somebody's voice like pain, and like you could tell, right? She's like, "You girls," and like right away we're like, "What's the matter? What's wrong?" And my brother went to a party, and he ended up getting shot, and he didn't. Yeah, he didn't make it. Um, After details were said and all said and done, after like we brought him home, and we had a ceremony here and stuff. Well, he had a ceremony by his dad first, and then they flew him home. So literally, I think we went through like a week, and usually it's 4 days, but we went through a week, kind of waiting for him to come home.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, and so the thing is about that is what I want to bring up is, so this happened on a reservation there. They said that it was they put it as an accidental shooting, which I don't believe that it is. That's what the FBI said it was. Later on, or when they went to court, like even my aunties all went out there when the court proceedings were going on, and they showed so much, like the person who shot my brother showed so much disrespect to my aunties, like literally shunning them and stuff like that when they were walking to the courthouse and stuff. And
oh my gosh,
it was kind of just, and then people are telling like wear cedar in your moccasins and all that so it keep you protected. And when they were telling me this, I just couldn't believe it. I was like, really? And I was like, man, that's crazy. I was like, because this person was supposed to be his so-called friend.
yeah.
And yeah, they were sentencing him, and then that's when they said that it was an accidental shooting. The most that he would get would be 3 years, which was ridiculous to me. So the next court proceeding, nobody went out there. We stayed here. They had a video thing for us to do so we could watch. And most of my family all went. I did not go. My grandma was like, how come you didn't come? You should have been there. And I was like, you know what, Grandma? I was like, I'm not going. I was like, because even if he does get the max 3 years, I said, that is not enough. I said, it was like, we all know that wasn't an accident. We all know. I was like, he probably freaked out. I was like, because when we read the report, like it seemed like there was a time space there where maybe he could have gotten help and he didn't get help, and maybe the outcome would have been different. You know what I mean? So it's just, and that's what I was upset about. I remember I was with my husband at a job site, and that was all going on, and I just told him, I was like, I'm gonna go for a run. He's like, where else? He's like, where? And I was like, down the road. I was like, I just need to run, and I need to clear my head because I'm upset. So I think I ran like 2 miles, but I came back.
Wow.
He's like, do
Yeah.
you feel better? And I was like, yeah, I feel better, but I was like, I'm still mad. I said, I was like, um, so like that guy did get 3 years, and he sat in prison. But like while he was in prison, I guess he was writing all these letters and kind of like talking about it, like, oh yeah, I shot, like that. You know what I mean? And it was disrespectful. It was very, and we had to hear about it. His dad's family had to hear about it there, and I could only imagine the retaliation because they all knew each other over there. But what's crazy to me is that he came when he got out. Like shortly later, he literally went to a Halloween party, I think, like maybe 2 or 3 weeks after, and somebody shot him, and he died after that,
Oh my
which
God.
is crazy. I mean,
That's insane.
yeah, and I don't know what it is, but like, I don't know. I don't want to say that, but I guess you kind of gotta watch what you do because stuff always comes back times two all the time.
Yeah,
So you just kind of,
definitely. That was a really good point that you made. Like, even if, at the time, how you felt that even if he got the maximum sentence, it's not enough because
mhm,
you can't bring back your loved one. Like, no
exactly.
sentence long enough to undo the pain that you have to continuously live with, right? Um,
Hmm.
so with that in mind, like, when you think about justice, there's, the court and justice system, but justice is such a word that has so much meaning. I feel like, what does justice look like, and what does justice mean to you? Why do you think justice is important? And does it mean just the punishment, or does it mean like more than that to you?
I think justice in my eyes, I mean, mostly like for my mom's case, um, me on my belief, honestly, like I honestly don't think there's gonna be any kind of justice like where somebody's gonna get sentenced or somebody's gonna go to jail. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, this is exactly why I do this work is because it helps me deal with that part of it.
Yeah.
Um, because in my mind, I don't think that's gonna happen. Do I wish it? Yes. I mostly wish it for my grandparents because I would love for them to have some kind of closure.
Hmm.
They're getting a lot older now, and I just wish that they could sleep in peace knowing that this was all set and done and that their daughter's justice was okay. But my justice is too is for all these little ones that are left behind because that was me. I
Mm.
was that little one. I mean, and I'm very fortunate to have the family that I do have that helped me go through this and take care of me the way they did. And but not all families are fortunate like that. Um,
Mm.
not all families have that. Some people can go into foster systems, or they can get taken away, or anything like that because they don't have that family oriented space. But
Mhm.
um, that's what I worry about. I mean, and that's what I want to do this work for mostly because that's where I see it. I mean, I know that pain and I know what that is. I
Mhm.
grew up with it my whole life, and it's hard to even think. And some of the people that we've helped, they've left young babies along the way, 3 year olds, 4 year olds, and it's so sad to even see that because you know what their life looks like. You know how strong you have to be. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
when you get older, it's um, like you can take this pain and you can either make it better or you can let it destroy you or let it take you somewhere else. It could lead you on a bad path if you let it, and that's that's what we don't want. I try my hardest to like Mother's Day for sure. For all the children that I do know, I kind of send them something just on that day or their mother's birthday or if they're missing or something because those are the days that are hard. Those are the days that are the hardest, and especially their birthday. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That's when you think more, and then as you get older, then you see. Like for me, I remember always seeing like my friends with their moms, and I'm just like, I
Mm.
mean,
All the what
I'm
if.
fortunate. Yeah, what if? And I mean, like my aunties, like literally are my second moms. But I mean, like they've
Um,
been there and they've done everything for me. If I asked them for anything, they would be there, right there, all the time.
yeah, I
And
think it's pretty universal for, Native families,
yeah, yeah.
how strongly connected we are in that way. But, something you said really reminded me, in 2019, my family helped organize, MMIW G2S family gathering in Saskatchewan, and there was a panel, and it was in Saskatchewan on Canada's list of families. There was 150 women in the province of Saskatchewan, where I come from, and so there was 150 families represented. It was a really big gathering, and they all spoke and had their time to talk and share their stories and things like that. And then there was a panel called the children of MMIW, and one of them said exactly what you said. Was it was hard in moments like seeing my friends with their mom. And most of us, we go on and we live our lives not thinking of like simple moments that are hard for our relatives and our friends and those in our community, and just the simple things that can trigger that kind of pain. And she also said, like, it would upset her so bad when she would see her friends being disrespectful to their moms, because it made
Exactly.
her think, you have a mom, and it brings up all those emotions. And yeah, just really, you doing this work for the children who have experienced what you have is just so selfless of you, Alysse. And I'm just really honored to, hear you share all of this. It's really heartwarming. And I just know that you're gonna really impact so many children of MMIW, MMIP, in this way. And I just really want to commend you for that.
Thank you. Yeah. I know, and then I like at the same time too, as I look at my son now, and I'm just at the same time, I mean, my son was born with Down syndrome. He was he's my only son, my only biological son. Um, and I was 24 at the time. And at the time when I had him, I was so sad. I was thinking I did something wrong. I was thinking that I did something because this happened. And honestly, I really didn't even know anything about Down syndrome. I could tell you that right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like later on, when you think about it, everybody always says, like, you know what, Alysse, if there's going to be anybody in our family that was going to have that happen to them, it would have been you, because you're the strongest and you would have dealt with it. But like at the same time, like when I read sometimes is like I just feel like that's part of my mom. I mean, he's happy all the time. Nobody has the energy like he does. He's like really literally gifted our family after we've been through so much grief in our lives. And I'm very thankful, but like that's what I'm saying. Like, and my brother was his godfather. But I mean, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I could feel her. And then, like, even all through my life when I've been in bad situations, I don't do it often, but I do. I remember I got stuck in the wood, or I got off work at like 4 in the morning, and then my car overheated, and it was like minus 15 degrees outside. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, and I was pulled over like in some farmlands or whatever. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I can't sit out here. I was parked across from this farmhouse, and I was like, oh my God, I hate to wake up these people at 4 in the morning. But I couldn't sit out there anymore in the cold. And I was like, okay, I got to go up to this house. And I remember sitting in the car, and I'm like, please, Mom, can you please just help me, please? And I walked up to that house, and I was so nervous to knock on the house. And as soon as I walked on the porch, the light came on, and they were like, hey, we were just going to come and help you. Do you need help? And I'm like, yes, I do. I was like, I was so nervous to come up here. And they're like, I was like, my car overheated and I just need some water. And they're like, yeah, no, yeah, we can help you. I was like, oh my God, thank you.
That's
But
awesome.
I'm at the same, I mean, like, and that's what I always say too, is like, I think it's important to talk to our loved ones that are gone. I think, I mean, that's literally what's kept my spiritual side up, because I really feel like she is watching me. She is everywhere around me. Um, Even though I was only that 7 weeks old and I really didn't know her, I feel she's always there.
Yeah,
And it's,
definitely
yeah.
connected to her either way. And I really do feel like that's really important, to keep you going in the work, that everything you're doing, that she's definitely guiding you.
Yeah. And then I also wanted to mention too is that I have, and I just learned this story. I knew that my grandma died a long time ago. I mean, she died when my dad was only like, um, I think he was 11 at the time, I want to say, 12.
Mhm.
Um, when I grew up, I always thought it was like a house fire or something, but it wasn't. I just heard this story for people that were actually there, but um, she was with this older guy. They lived, it was on the reservation here, and this is back in 1978. Um, Her name was Lavinia Corn. People called her Johnny. Um, and she had two kids, but my dad said that his sister died like when she was a baby.
Mhm.
So my dad was literally like her only child, kind of until. So I guess at this party, all my uncles were there. It was Thanksgiving, and they were drinking and stuff. And I don't know what was going on, but um, her boyfriend was a lot older. Like I want to say maybe 15 or 20 years older than her.
Mhm.
So he, um, my aunties and my uncles were there, and he got a gun. He tied up all my aunties and my uncles in this house, and then he shot my grandma right in front of everybody.
Oh my
The
goodness.
guy, when I looked it up on how many years this guy got, he got um, like 22 years, I think.
Mhm.
He actually got out. My dad seen him, and he was a lot older, you know what I mean? And my dad, like literally, I remember him, and I was with him, and he went to the store, and like he seen a ghost. It was crazy, and he was just, and I don't know. From what my uncle said, like that's what I'm saying. Like when you do this work, and you can never do it out of hate. You can't, as much as you would like to. I still struggle with a lot of things, especially with my mom's case on this. I'm still working on my forgiveness every day on how to get past this. But that's you can't do this work and it comes from hate. You need to do it out of love. And I know that it's just some days are harder than others. It
Yeah,
depends on how you feel.
absolutely. There's so much injustice in that, in every single way. I mean, having a parent taken from you at such a young age, but this happens so often. Talking with family members, you often learn about the other experiences in their family, and it's just those layers. And there's just
Yeah.
so many layers of trauma, of pain, of experiences, and just healing. How important that is. Have you found that being at gatherings with other family members, being there for the sole purpose of creating awareness or honoring a loved one through a vigil, like, do you find comfort in those spaces? Do you think it's important that we continue to create those spaces? How can we do that in a way that honors all of these families, especially young ones like children who might have a little more confusion with the experience
Yeah.
they have being a parent.
I mean, like with the families that I've talked to and they have young ones, I kind of just be like, man, you know what? You really got to be stern and strong with this one. And you got to make sure that they're walking the path that they're supposed to walk because it's the easy way is to go off and go do drugs or go drink it off or whatever. And I was
Mhm.
like, that's the easy way. I was like, and trust me, I've done that part of my life. I've lived that life before. And these last couple of years, I've been sober probably for a while now, and then it's just, but it's a struggle still. I mean, with that day, I mean, because that was my first go-to. That was my first go-to when I felt pain or when I felt any kind of grief or anything was like, I just don't want to feel it. I want to be numb. I don't want to feel it anymore. And you think that that takes it away, but it really doesn't. It just makes it go away for a little while.
Right? Yeah, and then
Yeah, you're really not getting what you need to get out of it. I mean, you're this way that I found when I start going to all these talking circles and I start opening up and doing these speeches and talking and stuff and talking about it. Because, like, when I grew up, that's what I was saying, it was so hard to even talk about my mom because you could just see the pain in their eyes. You know what I mean? And it was hard for me to even ask sometimes. Um, my dad, even to this day, like I try to like, well, how did you guys meet? Like,
little questions in there. Aw, so much innocence in that. I love it.
like, I mean, and you can still see the pain, and it's just, and it's hard for little ones. I mean, and they probably going to get like that later on in
Mhm.
life, when they talk about their loved one that's gone or their parent that's gone. Um, but at the same time, they never withheld anything from me. You know what I mean? They have always answered my questions, even if they didn't want to talk about it. But as you get older, you kind of know how they're feeling, and then it kind of puts like a thing like that's what always restrained me from kind of saying what I wanted to say to them.
Mhm.
Um, but it's it's all I guess I just want to say everybody kind of has their own healing path, and like I always just say, like you gotta find it. You gotta find where it is. You gotta find what makes you feel good. You gotta find how to way to embrace that pain and not hide it away. It needs to
Mhm.
be out there because if you keep it in, it's just gonna hurt you more, and then it's gonna hurt somebody else because you're probably gonna lash out at somebody that you don't even want to lash out at, and you
Yeah.
don't know. So it's very important to take that self care. That you're important, and you need to check yourself sometimes, and just kind of let that out. And you know how like
Yeah.
I don't know how it is for you guys, but like like I was always taught like crying was a weakness, and crying was
Mhm.
something that we don't do. Like you don't cry, um and I've learned differently. Me and my cousins were talking about it, and I was like, you know what? I was like, we were all grown up like that. We were all grown up like that. Our generation was grown up like that. I was like, but you know what we can do? And I was like, we can change it. We can change how we raise our babies. We can
Mhm.
change that it's okay. Like even just saying I love you. You know how bad that was to like just say like it's hard to say I love you sometimes to some people, and they're like the closest person to you. It seemed
Mhm.
like it was like a non whatever thing, but so I said, I was like, no, I was like, I make sure and I tell my baby that I love him every single day. I hug him every single day. All that. I was like, we can be the change. We're the ones that can make that change into the next generation. So it's us because they look at you and you're everything to them when you're growing up. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? And you remember all that stuff. You don't realize, but like you remember all of that, of just feeling like, oh my God, nope. Well, look at you're a pussy because you're crying. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. Like, and that's not how it should be. It should be where somebody should be able to cry.
Mhm.
And I know some people don't know how to deal with grief. Like I can even tell you from my husband, he has not dealt with a lot of death in his life. So it's
Mhm.
different and he kind of gets awkward. And I'm just like, you know what? I was like, even if I'm just sitting here and I'm crying, I just need you to be here. You don't
Mhm.
have to say anything. You don't have to do anything. I just need you to be here. Even, you know, and then he's just like, well, I always just feel like I was like, you don't need to do anything. I just need you to know that you're here. I said,
Mhm.
so don't ever feel like you can't be a part of this part of me. So,
Mhm. Yeah, I really love all of that. Everything that you said, it's really about breaking those cycles, and I feel like the inability to express love and show emotion, especially pain, comes from, like boarding school era and all these things that, all of our nations across Turtle Island have been through. Um, I always talk about that, even with my own dad. He went to residential school, and I've never heard him say, I love you to me, and I've been on my own healing journey, and I've had to learn that that doesn't mean he doesn't love me. It just means that he has other ways of expressing his love for me, and we've been on a beautiful, healing journey together. But yeah, unlearning those that way of thinking that crying is a weakness, that we don't talk about things, keep it silent, like keep the secrets. All of that has to change. And it really has been our generation that has started that cycle breaking. And I feel like the next generation is teaching us so much more nowadays.
yeah,
So much from, younger people, and I'm really grateful for that. But just seeing medicine or tears as medicine, you know,
yeah,
tears are necessary for us to like really shed a lot of the pain that we feel on the inside. And I feel like I always say that pain that we feel on the inside, those emotional wounds, are much more difficult to feel and deal with and work on healing than any like physical wound, like a cut. You know what to do with it.
yeah,
You know how to make it better. You know how to like put a band. You know what to do with that. When it's
mhm,
emotional, it can make us feel like panicky and we don't want to deal with it. Like, I don't know what to do with this. Let's just pack it away, and
yeah,
avoid it at all cost. But I think that's really beautiful and honest and raw of you to, express that for other people, that, you have to heal in order to do this work in an effective way, because we have so many relatives we're all on different, you know, areas of our own healing journey. Some are at the beginning, some are further ahead. But the thing about healing is it can be up and down. Even when you feel like you've gone a long time and you haven't had any like, triggers or any reactions to anything, like something
mhm,
can happen, and you could cry all night. Like, you never know. Healing comes and goes. It's just how we move through it that matters, and that we keep moving towards just being better for our children. So I really
yeah.
appreciate all that. So can you talk a little bit about your work with the Wisconsin Task Force and Waking Women's Institute? Just tell us a little bit before we wrap up.
Okay. So I was on the data committee before I was on the family impact because I just felt like I was more useful on the family impact committee. But um, the data committee, uh, it's really crazy, like how they're doing their. It was really questionable, and it kind of opened up my eyes on how people kind of see it from, I guess, from the government standpoint of, um, like, who do we count on this data committee? Are we descendants? Are we not descendants? Are we enrolled members? Are we not enrolled members? Or do we just include everybody? Are they native because they only have this much blood quantum? You know what I mean? It's crazy
Um,
when you get to that part, and it's just like, are you crazy? I was like, you know what? Just list everybody, and then they can decide who they want to pick. I was, I was sitting there, and I was just like, this is crazy. Um, but man, they're really working hard. We got some really good workers on the data committee, um, that are doing what they need to be doing, knowing the right people, I guess, and seeing how things can be changed, how we can get to where, because I think Minnesota has their own building now, I think, and their own stuff in Minnesota for their task force.
oh,
But
wow.
just to get, yeah. So we kind of been going through their paperwork and stuff for
Mhm.
that. But the family impact, we were talking about all this stuff, like about healing and about how we can do this for our families and what that looks like, and what kind of programs like maybe the state can give for families and stuff when they're going through all of this, and then maybe just like how to guide somebody through, um, like the court proceedings or something like that, like stuff like that, just to know that they're not alone in this when stuff does happen. Because I've been I haven't personally been working with. I mean, I went to, so Cozy Decora. I remember the first time I heard her story, we were doing a vigil downtown in Kashina. I think it was, I don't know, I want to say it was in May maybe. But it was the first time I heard her story, and I know her trial is like going on right now.
Mhm.
And then there's three little babies in that situation, and I'm just
Mhm.
like, geez, those poor little babies. And I used to remember their aunties like talking like, we just want them babies to come home. And it's just sad to see that when there's children involved. And then I've been working a lot we with Nangoon's Massey. She's from Mount Pleasant, Michigan. So I went to their vigil in or I want to say August, or I think it was August. It might have been in September too. But went up there for the vigil, and then we did the rally in Detroit when they were going to the court proceedings, which was, they made our they what do you call that? They keep prolonging their court hearings, and it's literally been a year and a couple months now. I know that she pled guilty finally.
Mhm.
So she's facing up to like 19 years. And but when you look at the case and you look at all that, honestly, like if it was in different circumstances, if she, you know what I mean, if this was a different, if this was a white person, I probably would think
Mhm.
that, like when you look at cases like that, and 19 years really ain't shit compared
Yeah,
to like what
they they
what
took,
happened to her.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
and I mean, and then like the fam, like I just feel so bad. And she's one of the ones, like, I just met her at the vigil, and I was literally just supposed to be there just to like show my support and stuff, but I
Mhm.
got asked to speak at the last minute. And um I think it gave the mom comfort. I mean, just to hear my story, she's like, it was nice to hear that, like, somebody knows my pain, you know what I mean? Somebody knows what I'm going through, and
Mhm.
she's out there speaking. And she's doing big things too. I think she's on their council and stuff like that. But we went to a retreat together in October, and so her and her husband too, and they take care of their grandson where their daughter has passed away. But um,
That's beautiful.
that's
I'm so glad that
yeah. And then I spoke at the in Chicago, was the No More Stolen Sisters thing, and then I did healing around the lakes. up in Michigan, and just trying to get my voice out there and just trying to give um, my support for everybody, just if they need it. I think it's just healthy for them to know that, yeah, like you're not the only ones. Like there's other people that are that are going through the same pain and the
Mhm.
same struggles that families are going through, especially like with the court system and stuff too. It's ridiculous to me still to this day. Like I have no,
As if families haven't been through enough, right?
yeah, exactly. And uh, like I just don't even know like what my grandma and them went through. If I'm having this much, and that's what I'm saying. Like this is back in 1986, so I can kind of understand like the um the no communication, because like they would have to actually be at their desk, and I think the closest FBI agency at that time was in Milwaukee, so that's
Mhm.
3 hours away from our reservation. But now it's in Green Bay, which is only like a 40 minutes away from here.
Mhm.
But then there's FaceTime, there's emails, there's all this other stuff that we can communicate, but still, like, I just don't know what the holdup is with me. I'm starting to get really super frustrated with that myself. And then even with people like giving me their tips and stuff, they've mentioned to me that they've said these tips to the police, and the police haven't even went over there to take a statement. And that's the kind of things that get me mad, because I'm just like, what, it takes like probably a half an hour to go over to that person's house and go take a statement and write it down on paper and just go do your job. And
Yeah.
it makes me, it
Yeah.
just irks
So
me.
being on the task force, do you have more of a voice to bring up those kinds of concerns? Like you're experiencing it like firsthand, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And how many families experience that? But like, so going back to what you said, this back in the 80s, like what was it like then feeling like you don't want to question police, and that's what my family said a lot back then. Like it was almost dangerous to question police, because
Yeah.
racism was so I don't know, more, I don't want to say accepted, but basically, you know, um and yeah, I just feel like that caused a lot more silence and just feeling like it was hopeless because you couldn't question police. Like how dare they? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And then like the whole gaslighting thing, like I went through something earlier with a family member, and I'm just like, I looked at that cop like, really? Like, you're blaming this on her? Like, this is bullshit. Are you fucking kidding? I was pissed.
Challenge
You know
'em.
what I mean? It was just like, I was like, I can't believe you're making, if like she's the one who got, something happened to her, and now you're like, it seemed like you were blaming her, like the way that you worded it, and the way like it was seemed like it was an attack almost.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
and
that's unacceptable. I'm glad that you're on the task force because, like I said, I feel like you have an opportunity to be a voice that's experiencing those things firsthand.
hmm.
And I think that's
Yeah,
awesome. I'm glad that you are.
thank you.
Mm.
But,
So,
um,
can I share
I don't
some
know if you,
photos?
yes, that's
Sorry.
what I was gonna say.
I'll just start with photos, and if you can, I'm going to mute myself and just talk about, each one and who's in the photo, what it means, where it was taken,
Okay.
or whatever information you have, and then just say next photo, and I'll
Okay.
switch. So, can you see the photos?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So this photo is actually the only photo that I have with my mother. That's my dad. So this is when I was in the hospital. This is the only one that I have. I don't know if somebody secretly has somewhere else, but this is the only one that I know of me and my mom and my dad. Next photo. So this is right after my mom got Menominee Princess. This is my grandma and my grandpa in their front yard. Uh, Look at how you could just see like how proud they are. Next photo. So this is Nagu Massey's rally in Detroit, right at the courthouse downtown. So that's her little boy, and then the woman behind her is her mom, and then the guy right there in the flannel is her dad. Next photo. So this was back in 2000. I want to say 2019. It might have been 2019. March 5th, when we were trying to get the bill passed in Madison. So this was a group of ladies that we all were there that were supporting for MMIP and stuff to get a bill passed. Next photo. So this is actually a picture of where they found my mom. We hung a red dress out there. You can see it. So we're planning to make a memorial out there. We're just trying to talk with forestry to make sure that that area doesn't get logged at or whatever. Next photo. So this is my Auntie Leanne. She was at a MMIW event in Milwaukee, and somebody took this picture of her. I'm just like, wow, look at you, you go girl. Like my auntie like supports everything all the time. With her busy schedule, she always finds time. Next photo. So this is a memorial that that was made for my mom. This is all of her beadwork from her regalia, her plume, and then that's where I got that picture from my grandma and my grandpa and her when she got Maori Princess. I think this is her beadwork from when she was like 14. I think I want to say she is in that picture. Next photo. So this is at the same event when we went to Madison. And this is my auntie, Rachel Fernandez, and my auntie Suki and me. That's right at the Capitol.
Mm-hmm. I love it.
And then this is in Detroit. So that's Kristen Welch and that's Cristal. Cristal is actually well, Kristen Welch is the founder of Waken Women's Healing Institution, and Cristal works with us in our group too. She does a lot of healing, but she's from Maine actually, and she does. When we went to the retreat, she offered services like meditation and cupping. I don't know if you know what that is, but
Yeah, I've heard of it.
yeah, she does stuff like that. I've never tried anything like that, so it was kind of nice. Next photo. This was in Detroit also. I just took some pictures of people holding up signs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then next photo.
Sorry.
And yep, same thing in Detroit. We went all the way around the block 2 times. It was nice because they had a big, huge bus with her picture on the back and like just rode around like constantly and like every time like just beeping the horn with a bunch of signs up and everything. It was a pretty good turnout. So
Love it.
next photo. Yeah.
Awesome.
So somebody held an event in Shawano, and I just happened to see it in my like events and on Facebook. I was like,
Uh-huh.
hey, look at that. So I just got dressed and I was like, hey, let's go down. I called my auntie, or I called my cousins, and she brought her 2 daughters too, and we all went down there and got dressed and went down there, and we actually met with the people from Moonshiners down there.
Oh,
I got
wow.
a picture with them also too.
Whoa. Wow.
They were asking all kinds of questions about what we were there for and stuff, and we educated them. It was nice.
Oh, love your boy's haircut.
Yeah, this is the
Okay.
smallest one is my son Colton, and then the bigger one 15-year-old is my stepson.
Your little guy has a braid now, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's getting long now. He keeps trying to chew on it, so I'm trying to like hold it up so he doesn't do it.
Awesome.
So this was Healing Around the Lakes event. After we spoke and stuff, we all held their signs and we walked down to the billboard that they had in their little town after that.
Oh, wow. Love it.
And then they did a MMIW memorial ride this spring, and then they had everybody's names, people's names. So I did have more photos of names, and I don't know where they are. I think they're in my Snapchat, honestly. But Cozy, I just got Cozy's on my regular camera. But man, it was a big turnout. I don't remember how many bikes were there, but I think it was. If I wanted to guesstimate, it was probably over 25. And they drove from from Wittenberg Reservation, our Ho Chunk Reservation in Wittenberg, all the way up towards Bad River, I believe.
Nice. That's beautiful.
And then this is the memorial parade. We all went down there, and they had a specific section. Rachel Fernandez put that all together.
Nice.
And this was in Neopet, Wisconsin.
Okay.
So this is when I want to say Josh Call. I don't want to say his last, but he is one of the governors that passed for the MMIW task force, and he came and spoke at a reservation. And then they had all of my mom's pictures up there, and then Robert Lyons, and then Caitlin Kelly's pictures up there. And then this is right downtown Kashina. We're all holding up signs down there, and we did that, and it was a good turnout too. It's funny how when you just do that, and then how many people actually show up, like super short notice. Like literally, I put my mom's thing together in one day, and I think like at least 20 people showed up, which was awesome.
Yeah, that is. That's awesome. Support always feels good.
And then this is my mom's flyer for the FBI. The reservation has a flyer also. I have a picture of that, but they're both basically the same. They just kind of just switched the little FBI into the Menominee seal.
Wow. I'll just leave this one up for a few more minutes, just so viewers, can take a good look.
Yeah.
Read some of the details and information there. I think that's.
But yeah, and then I did you watch the episode when they did the episode for Dr. Phil show?
I didn't get to see all of it. How do I? Okay, there. I'm back. But
I put in my mom's photo. I was like, yay, it's on there.
I saw a lot of photos that I recognize. And I think that's the best and most important thing about, our advocacy is I get to know so many faces and I get to know so many names because family members don't give up. They will constantly post about their loved one. They'll share photos, and just being consistent puts it in other people's minds. Like those names, those photos are engraved in my head. And if I went somewhere and somebody was like, let's do a say her name, call out or whatever. And they're like, give me some names. And like, I could list a bunch, because these family members, like, never stop advocating, never stop talking about their loved one. And that's so important because, those photos, the information's out there, it gets ingrained in our minds and in our hearts. So I just, I'm just really grateful that, families continue to do that, and it takes a lot of strength to continue in the work, So, I would like to share the link on screen to Waking Women's Institute if you want to give a little information. what you do there and offer, and just talk about the work a little?
So me personally, I for advocacy to help other families help speak about if they need any help with that situation on how to speak, or if they want to speak, or if they want me to speak on their behalf. That's fine. We do offer services for not just for MMIW families, but for sexual abuse and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And we offer free counseling through our program. Uh, I know we have police on our thing to help us with some of the stuff that goes on for cases and stuff if something was to happen.
Mm-hmm.
We offer a lot of healing um, stuff like talking circles. We were supposed to have a full moon ceremony, but we didn't want to do anything because of COVID, so we didn't want to kind of restrict it on some stuff. But we hold virtual meetings also for talking circles. We do it every second Thursday of the month.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is welcome to that, and just and then we do stuff for like land and water too, like the pipelines and stuff. We do stuff like that, do work for that, advocacy for that, and also just helping. Yeah, mainly our focus is just helping families just to get through this process, and just being there when when times are like right when they're going through that moment when they shouldn't have to be thinking about what am I going to say, or how can I get the cops attention, or how can I get them going on this investigation and stuff. So that's what kind of we're there for, to help push things along so that they don't have to deal with that part of the whole situation, because they're already in a point of grief already, and they don't need to be in that. They don't need to be dealing with that already.
Absolutely. Well, that's wonderful. I mean, I'm just so honored to know you and to hear about all these things that you do, the strength you carry. We're coming to the end here, but I just really want to thank you so much for sharing with us today, Alysse. I commend you again for the work that you're doing. It really brings honor to all of us, and I'm really proud that I know you, and that you're using your
Glass
voice,
won't stop.
your strength, and your healing, your love for your mother, your courage to share these things and these stories, and even your tears, it guides all of us. And, my hope is that may the creator bless you and, continue to keep you close. Before I end, if you have any last words, feel free to share.
I just want to thank you for creating this safe space for talking. It's really hard to feel comfortable, and you really made me feel really comfortable in
I'm
talking.
glad.
So thank you for that.
That's good to
and
know.
I'm glad that you're doing this work too. It's awesome that you're helping other people get their stories out there, because a lot of people need to hear them and give what do I want to say, empowerment to others to do the same. So we're all here and we all want to hear you, and with no judgment. So please come forward if you want to.
Well, thank you so much, Alysse. That was perfect. Thank you again. Before we end, I just want to say, take a moment to acknowledge any family members that might watch this episode. The power and strength of MMIP families isn't a small thing. It has been the families who, with their courage, bear this grief and have shared their stories of unspeakable violence. And because of that, it's forced the world, it's forced our communities, it's forced the governments to wake up and acknowledge this genocide. So again, thank you to the families. Thank you, Alysse, and thank you to all the trusted advocates. We will never give up. To learn more and to watch other MMIP storytelling episodes, please visit seedingsovereignty.org/MMIP. And also please consider donating to the MMIP project on Global Giving. The link can also be found on seedingsovereignty.org/MMIP. And until next time, we'll see you later. Kinanash Gumtin.